Good evening,
Yeah.
everyone. Shalom. Who let the dads out? Great to see everybody here and out in the web. If you're watching this after the Dads of the Bible, this is Dads of the Bible, episode 8 on Noah. I am so excited tonight to talk about Noah, whose name means rest. And I have a little bit of a testimony myself about that. So we all know Noah built the ark. And I got some more people coming in. Everybody know that Noah built the ark. Well, guess what? Noah was not just a builder of the ark, and the prophet who saw that actually was Enoch, his great grandfather, who actually prophesied about the flood. And then Methuselah's name meant when he dies, it will come. And Methuselah died the year of the flood. So Methuselah actually was alive when right before the flood happened. And that was a fulfilled prophecy. And Noah was the one that obviously built the ark. It took him 100 years, but he also built it with his kids. Notice, think about it. He trained his kids. He prepared his kids through the ark building. And I'm led to believe other things. So tonight's episode, very excited. The protector who prepares, protective preparation. And the Hebrew word that we're going to look at, which is in the Bible, it says shamar. Shamar is to guard, to keep. Shamar Shabbat is a famous one that a lot of Jews say. Shamar Shabbat is to keep the Sabbath, to keep the holy day. But Shamar means all of these things, to watch over, to guard. And we're going to look at Noah's 100-year preparation, the dad skill of protective preparation. I'm very excited about that because that's in the middle, and that's an alternative to what's happening a lot in society, which is overprotection and underprotection. Okay, and we're going to see the effects of those versus the protective preparation that Noah does. And then we're going to teach kids to build their own ark, and that's what I'm so excited about. And the difference between Noah and God in that regard. So let me get back to so I can see my screen to see what is going on. And this here is, if you can see this, everybody see that? That is a birdhouse. You see? And that birdhouse, here, let me turn it. This birdhouse has these legs on it. We built these legs for this birdhouse here. And these legs, so the balcony is very windy. And me and my daughter built these legs to exactly fit tight on the balcony and also be long enough so they're very strong. It can handle even the strongest winds. So we built that birdhouse. And we also built a baby bed for my other daughter. We built a baby changing table that is a special design with the flip over cover. We built, and she learned mathematics through this that were then relevant to her school tests because she was having difficulty with mathematics. But through the applied knowledge of making the baby table and using triangular mathematics and different functions and different things, so through the architecture, as my friend Kawhi would say, she actually learned the reason for mathematics. And we also did things, and she's got a little architecture bug, actually. Let me actually do one more little promotion of my daughter here. And let me see here, no background. Let me turn off my background. And you can see behind me is this is something that she built. You know, did you ever have one of these as a kid? Anybody? It's basically a box. It's just an empty box for a refrigerator. And you would make like a cave. You would take an empty refrigerator box or some old stuff, and you could make caves or little houses. You never did that?
Is that a castle?
Yeah, it's like a castle, but she's made it with. Look, it's got.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, okay. I didn't see the bottom.
Oh yeah, it's got its own doors. She's
Wow.
got a cup holder here. She's got a thing for pens and pencils. She's got a cool little art on the wall. She's got her blanket down here and different things. She's made different cool stuff on it. And even at the top, as you can see, we have some cool stuff. You know, she's put her girly stuff on here. And then you see that lights?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So, so my daughter's learning how to build stuff. And this is what the lesson is tonight is Noah. People never talk about this. And you guys know I love to teach stuff that nobody has ever talked about. Noah taught his children how to build. Because do you think he could have cut all that wood, done all that stuff by himself?
No.
No. And also, who tended the animals? Who took care of the animals? Who put the animals on the boat? Who prepared everything? Him and his
Friends.
family. Yeah, huh?
Friends? Family?
Yeah. Whoever was going to go on the boat. And so this was a preparation time for 100 years. And that's what tonight's message is about, this preparing our kids for the flood, for the storm of life that they're going to deal with. And the virtue of preparation and of not just carpentry, but also work and of being able to do different skills to survive and to build things and having that attitude and mindset. And so I try to do that with my own kids, and that's the model from Noah. And as you can see here, we have a great session. So there we go. So he was the protector dad. And in Genesis 6:22, I don't know what's going on here, but could you, Kawhi, could you read Genesis 6:22 at the top there?
Yeah, Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him.
Okay, think about that. He did all that God commanded him. So he was a faithful person. And God commanded him to do what? To do something that everybody else thought was crazy. And they kept saying that for 100 years. But he did it anyway. And then in Genesis 7:1, could you go ahead and read again?
Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household."
Okay, and so now the Lord commanded him to go into the ark, and he did it. He didn't go into the ark until he was told. So it might have been finished before 100 years, never know. But he didn't go in until he was told. But basically, he prepared his children for a judgment that others couldn't see. He preached righteousness while building that protection. Because obviously he did all the Lord commanded, right? It says that he did all the Lord, that everything he commanded. It was complete obedience. When the preparation was complete, God invited him. And his sons were prepared because he prepared them. So Noah was building protection, a physical ark, right? He was building the protection as a physical object, preaching righteousness. In later in the New Testament, in the second book of 2 Peter 2 verses 5, it calls Noah the herald of righteousness. And herald is like the voice, like the speaker of righteousness. And he prepared his sons for decades, and the entire world was against him. I remember Lamech, the family of Cain, and all these people that were worldly. But notice that Noah didn't compromise. He did everything that the Lord commanded him, and he didn't compromise. So that was a pretty strong boat. And as a result, when the flood came, his family was ready. They had a physical ark for protection. They had spiritual preparation. They had faith. And guess what? They had skills. And Noah prepared. But then what happened? What happened? In Genesis 7:16, it says, the Lord shut him in. So the Lord sealed it. The Lord sealed the deal, buddy. Now, let me ask you something, Kawhi, since you're an architect. Have you ever looked at the scripture about Noah's Ark?
I did read through it many years ago, but I have to say it's a long time. I don't think I took into account the details of the ark.
It's quite explicit, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sort of looking through it now. It's very specific, the measurements, the dimensions, and everything is sort of well planned.
And so probably Lamech and Methuselah had building skills, architecture and design skills, and passed that down the generations to Noah. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Because you had to go to become an architect of like 5 years of university and use all this technology and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then they didn't have all that, right? But I heard that they found Noah's Ark. They actually. Yeah, have you heard about that?
I did hear. So it's somewhere on top of a mountain.
Yeah, they found the remains of a boat that actually fit those exact dimensions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and why was it on top of a mountain? Because there was a flood. So, interestingly, now, of course, this is questionable about the veracity of this whole thing. But the main thing is the skill, right? So I'm teaching my daughter multiple skills through building things, like not just the carpentry or in the woodwork. It's also the design for a purpose. It's also, we are looking at budgeting and efficiency. Like we're only using this birdhouse was used all with extra wood. It didn't cost us anything. Extra nails, extra wood that we had from our baby bed project. Our baby bed project was also on a budget of 50 euros. And we found wood and stuff like that and nails that would fit within our budget. So this is also something, in thinking about design, that's practical. Like we thought, okay, instead of just making a standard baby bed, and you can get a template to design that, we thought about what do you always think about as an architect? What's the main thing?
There's a very common saying, form follows function, which is essentially, it has to work. First of all, you have to first sort of establish the brief, what it is that you're building, what you're trying to achieve, and then the form sort of follows it. So you build the necessary structures for it, and then maybe the necessary cladding surfaces on top. But all of that, we would draw it out on the sketch. and then try to understand what is the budget involved in creating that piece of work. And then if the budget's too high or certain materials, then you sort of find alternatives, but you work within the framework of the function that you're trying to achieve.
And that's based on the goals of the client.
So to speak, yeah. We would kind of sort of really have to understand what the client wants.
Yeah. Okay. So understanding the client's needs and then the function over form. So in the case of the baby bed, we had to think about those things. We had a budget of, I gave my daughter a budget of 50 euros. I said that we can't have a traditional baby bed because the baby likes to roll over onto her mom during the night. And so her mom would, with a traditional baby bed, her mom would have to pick her up, put her back in the bed, things like that. So we had to design a bed extension on the side of our bed that would then fit between the walls, be large enough for the baby, fit a standard baby mattress. So we had the function, because you can only get certain sizes of baby mattresses. And so we had the function that was essential, but the function and the form was based on the needs of the client, right? The baby and the baby's mom.
Yeah.
Right? So and that's what architects do too, right? You architects think about like, oh, well, maybe it's not a good idea to have this door that opens this way because it's going to hit this wall and
exactly.
It's stupid. Or this one's not going to work. So you have to think about the use of the space. I wonder, have you ever wondered, Kawhi? I wonder what Noah was doing in that regard, thinking about like all those different kinds of animals and stuff like that. Like, okay, how far are the cows and the sheep and the other pooping animals from where I sleep?
Certainly, yeah.
I mean, he had to think about that, right? Like, I don't want to sleep in poop. The cows go on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had to plan for food storage, right?
In addition, and then you think about, okay, well, it's impractical to take the food from one side of the boat to the other side of the boat to feed the cows and or to the birds. So you have to have the food in the area closest to those animals too. It's quite interesting when you think.
It's a whole infrastructure. There's a sewer system probably where the poops go, and then probably the food needs to be stored somewhere away from it, and then there are sleeping quarters, and certain animals cannot be placed next to each other probably.
Yeah. And so it's there's a lot more to it, you know, when people think about what he did there. And so this is quite an extraordinary feat of mankind, and this is where God has given us a mind and extraordinary ability to create and build, but also to guard and to watch over. He was put in control to guard human life and animals. And look, notice the difference between preparation and control. Preparation and protection is not control. God is the one, and you'll see in the scripture, God, it says that when they entered the ark, God sealed the door. God closed the door. Now that's a key thing about raising our kids and dad skills and parenting, because we have to let the kids out into the world, right?
Yes.
Alfred Adler, one of my favorite psychologists, who's right here from Vienna, by the way, back in the day said that the reason for psychological problems in children is mainly that they have an inability to learn how to deal with the problems of life. Yeah, the problems of life include problems with relationships with the opposite sex, relationships with your own the people around you, work, stuff like that. And the inability to learn how to deal with these results in psychological illnesses. Okay, and we see that everywhere, right?
Correct.
Yeah, everywhere, right? And you see these, I see, and this is one of the reasons I'm not in schools, and I'm not teaching at schools, and I'm not working in schools, because you have these things called helicopter parents. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Kawhi, you know what that is?
I don't really know. I could imagine, is it like you are remote parenting? Or?
No, Attila, explain to Kawhi what a helicopter.
Well, for me, it means it's a parent who is always above his child, like a helicopter, and making sure that he does everything correctly, correcting him all the time, overwatching, worrying, observing, always protecting his child from everything to the extremes.
Right. And so on the one hand, we have the helicopter parent who is always watching out for their kid. They're always, at the school, my kid never does any wrong. And I'm always paying attention to every little detail that they're doing. And if they step out of line, I see it. And you have these parents that are really all over them all the time. And they're making sure that they never even fall. They're like watching every step. Oh, no, and protecting them at everything. Then you also have a newer phenomenon called the bulldozer parent. And the bulldozer parent's the one that's like, I'm going to get my kid first. And I'm going to push my kid. Johnny gets the ice cream. And I'm going to like push over the school and the teachers and everybody so that my kid's first, And so the overprotection on the one hand is solving all the problems, never letting them struggle, helicopter watching everything that they do. And the result of that, according to modern psychologists and a lot of research, is incompetence. They become incompetent. And the other end of that, the other side of that coin, is underprotection. Underprotection is where they're kind of what they call the neglective parent. And this is where that parent is ignoring the real dangers that are happening, right? Don't worry about, that burning fire over there. Also, the neglective parent or underprotection is allowing culture to raise the kids. And so when we talk about like kids watching the cell phones all day and watching videos, doing these kind of things, allowing the ideas of gender ideology and these other things happen. It's like passive parenting, not really being involved, really just let them do what they want, not caring who their friends are, and the result of that is trauma.
Yes, correct.
And so they're traumatized there. But God, so the protective preparation is equipping them to build their own ark. And so let me ask you guys, have you experienced overprotection or underprotection?
I experienced overprotection. My ex-wife was like that. She was overprotecting, and my older daughter, for example, she was never allowed to to pour herself a glass of milk because she would spill it, right? And now my daughter is 17, and she still doesn't know how to pour the milk without spilling it. And the funny thing is, I was talking with one ergotherapist where my daughter went to, improve her skills. And she told me, no, now it's too late for that. It can never be improved because these fine motorics can only be learned until certain age, and if the kid doesn't learn it, then later it's too late. Like you can train it, maybe improve 10%, but it will never be normal.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds weird, man. But it's also drastic. That's a serious. It's like something happens, a trigger that takes her back to that childhood, right?
Yeah.
It's an area of damage. But if she could overcome that, that would be a huge step forward in her life.
Exactly.
And how would you overcome that?
I don't know. You mean my daughter or the ex-wife?
Forget about your ex-wife, your daughter.
Well, maybe if I was more strict and not let these things, how do I say, did not let my ex-wife to dictate how to raise the child, then she would be more independent now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, but again, you're focusing on yourself and what you and your limited role. The preparation. Yes. Yeah, and on the one hand, you had no control over that preparation of that child, in that sense. On the other hand, she's got at this one point of area where she can't overcome, where you could diagnose where it comes from and stuff like that. The psychologist says, "Oh, she'll never get better. She's always going to be traumatized. She's always a victim. Might as well just give her some medicine. Oh my God, let's give her some psychotherapy for the rest of her life. That way she can come and pay me 120 euros for the rest of her life every week." Or you could pray for her. You could say in your own life, you could say, "You know what? Jesus healed me. Jesus gave me the confidence. Jesus gave me the skills to say, hey, I'm no longer afraid of making the mistake. I'm no longer looking over my shoulder in case somebody's watching me. I'm no longer worried about what can happen because I know that I'm safe in God, and I know that God can help me overcome that." And so for me, I see Jesus as the healer, and that heals those places in our mind that are traumatized because of the issues that parents have also done to us, our earthly parents, including underprotection, overprotection, that then results in these things. So I think an alternative is prayer for her, and also, like you said, you could even give some guidance, but in a way that is obviously protective, encouraging, and not discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Encouraging her to try, encouraging her to focus, encouraging her to think. Like, for example, what if one of Noah's kids had that same problem?
He would pray.
He's got to milk the cow, right? While he's on there. Let's say he had a problem with milking the cow because Noah yelled at him when he was a child, when he was milking the cow wrong, and it traumatized him, and now he can never milk the cow right, and now it's time to go in the ark, and you got to have the milk, otherwise you're going to die, so you got to do it right. What's he going to do in that situation?
He will ask for help.
Yeah, that's right. Get one of the other kids to do it. Or he could go there and patiently work with him and say, hey, you know what, Johnny, Seth, or no, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, that was Noah's kids' names, his sons. He could say, hey, Shem, we're going to keep trying, and I believe in you, and I'll be here, and I'm not going to judge you. And you know what? If you spill the milk, you spill the milk. Then we'll come back tomorrow and try again, because I know you're going to get it, and we're going to pray to God. Lord God, help us in this area, because we know it's your will that we have that milk. You know, I mean, that's the best you can do. But hey, that's a small thing. Basically, we have 3 different types of arcs that we can be proactive. We can't stop an overprotective or underprotective mother or spouse or ex-spouse. We can't change that. But what we can do is be proactive in teaching them to build. And this is through the faith arc, the skill arc, and the discernment arc. And so the faith arc is daily prayer, scripture, and worship. Not just your faith, their faith. So we're preparing them with this consistency. Noah was doing that. Another ark that Noah was building with his children and teaching them to build for themselves when he wouldn't be there anymore, or if they needed to survive on their own, which they did, is a skill arc. And that's the competence, but not just the competence of building the ark and building the and the ability to milk the cows and these other things, but the work ethic. See that? He also taught them the work ethics. And then the third thing that he taught them was resilience. So overcoming challenges, ensuring that you could fit within that budget, that you could fit within that form and the function, that you could ensure that that ark wasn't going to sink, for example, and that you were resilient in case of problems that occurred, like spilled milk or like something going wrong. And this was not just theory. This is actual ability that had results. And then the third arc that Noah helped build was the discernment arc. And this discernment arc was to help them to recognize danger in advance, and also to say no to those friends and those other people that were making fun of their father, to say no to doing other things like sitting around playing video games, although they didn't have video games back in Noah's day. So sitting around playing whatever tic-tac-toe of the Jewish version of 5,000 years ago. And so this is the question: what skills are you teaching your kids, if you have them right now?
I teach them how to be good friends and how to give support to their friends. For example, the other day, my older daughter told me that one of her classmates from primary school tried to kill himself, and then she was giving him support and sending him a long message about how to pray and trust in God. And
Really?
Yeah, she was how do you say, empathic.
Yep, empathic.
She was very empathic, and she was very supportive of him, and I was surprised how she managed it well, actually.
That's really important. And so you're observing a great skill for her, but also you're listening to her, and you're also modeling this.
I was encouraging it. I told her, invite him to the church, pray with him, talk with him, call him every day, so I was encouraging her to do this more.
You see? You're preparing her for life,
Yeah.
by focusing. And I know that you've been a focused dad for a long time on doing whatever you can. And that's amazing. And so this discernment, this knowing how to approach a situation with empathy,
Mhm.
with care, that's the discernment arc, right? And then the faith arc, by encouraging her and supporting her in her approach to try and bring this boy to God, something that can help him.
Yeah,
Rather
correct.
than, yeah. Some parents would say, "So stay out of it, man. You don't want to be blamed,"
Yeah.
right? The other parent, the helicopter parent or the overprotective one, would be like, "No, stay away from him
Stay
because
away from him. Yeah.
I'm
He will
afraid."
influence you.
Yeah. So you have the two opposites there, but you're saying no, lean in and be there for your friend. That's what a true
Yes,
friend is.
exactly.
And you're also, even though you might not notice it or you might not feel it, but you're, by being here, by being in the same city, even though you don't have the time, they will know. They will know that that's a sacrifice, and that is also something that will affect them and their way of being in the world and treating others by caring for others. So good on you for that, and we'll pray for that young man and also your daughter for that. So go ahead, Attila. Can you read Genesis 7:16?
Those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him.
Oh, I have this. And the Lord shut him in.
And the Lord shut him in.
Okay. Now, notice that we have a part and God has a part. You can't do God's part.
Okay.
Because guess how the door is sealed?
From God.
From
From
the
outside.
Yeah.
from the outside. God can't do your part, which is
Parenting.
Building the ark.
Yeah, that's right. God is
Building.
right. He's not going to cut down the trees. He might knock down some trees in a storm.
Mhm.
Noah was obedient. He did everything that God commanded him. All of the animals went into the ark because Noah taught those animals to obey. Right? Man is responsible for animals. And I tell you what, the British are the best when it comes to dogs. You could go to Britain, you could go to the UK or Poland or somewhere, but you could go to the UK and the dogs won't bark at you or attack you or anything. They're like in complete control of them dogs. You go to Japan, and even though the Japanese are in control, they don't have any control of the animals. They don't know how to do it. And so, but those animals were all obedient to Noah. But where did Noah learn the obedience? He learned it by being obedient to God. And his kids learned it too. And that's why they were able to have all those animals in there, right? I mean, we're just talking practical here. And so the preparation was complete. He did the job. He had the work ethic. He finished the job. He prepared the whole thing. And his kids too. And when it was complete, God's sovereign protection was with him and his family, and God sealed the door from the outside. God can't do your part. God can't prepare your children. God can't teach your children the truth. That's your job. But the truth is God. The truth is God's truth that God has given to you. God can't equip them with those skills. God isn't warning them of the dangers. That's your job. Also, not being a helicopter parent, but paying attention. I tell you what, with an 18-month-old baby like I got to pay attention to her every second. And I take responsibility, but it's God isn't, if she falls or if she burns her hand or something and I'm not paying attention, God isn't going to stop that. That's my responsibility to warn her of dangers. I tell her, heiss, hot, and I allow her to get her hand really close to the stove so that she can feel the heat. But when she's about to touch it, I hold that back so she's not burnt. But then she's already learned after a few times getting close to it that she doesn't want to touch it. She knows it's going to burn her. All right. So there's a skill, a dad's skill of knowing how far to allow them to go before you hold back. And that's going to be through all their teenagers, right? You got teenagers, one dad in the group tonight, and that's going to be different boundaries, different allowances when it comes to boys, for example, or you know what I mean, like
Correct.
When especially in the sexual stuff, because that could have huge consequences, right? But at the same time, you don't want to prohibit them from growing up and having those desires and those normal human interactions. So their job is to train their discernment, and that's exactly what Attila is doing. That he told with his testimony about his daughter. He's training her to judge the situation and to deal with the problem, and encouraging her to deal with the problem, even though it's not her problem. She's potentially saving somebody's life because of the ark of judgment that was then put down, not by God directly, but through the parenting style of her dad. God's part is to seal their salvation. We can't save anybody. I can't save my kids. My parents couldn't save me. God saves. God protects their souls. God saves them from judgment, saves us from judgment through the blood of Jesus Christ. And God brings them through safely to the other side. So we can pray, but boy, we don't know what's on that other side for them. We can't keep them forever. So no matter how hard you try, you can't do God's part, and God won't do yours no matter how much you pray. So the only thing left that we can do is do our part faithfully and trust God to do his part. Trust God to do his part in raising your children. And God trusts you to take responsibility and do your part faithfully. So, fun so far. And let me see, back to the slides. Last slide. The warning is this. Genesis 5. Everybody drowned outside. They mocked Noah for 100 years. They didn't believe until it was too late. Even when they saw the clouds coming, they were like, we'll be all right. If you don't prepare your kids, They won't survive the flood. The culture will destroy them. They will have no ark to stand in. That's the truth, guys. And so what do?
We teach them.
What do you see coming? What kind of flood do you see coming? There it is, right in the back.
End of the world.
You see the end of the world coming?
Well, behind you, I see lots of animals.
Ah, that's Jan Bruegel the Elder. That's a famous Dutch painter. Of course, I have famous paintings of all the scenes of the Bible that I do these Dads of the Bible thing. It's one of my things. And I love art, classical art. That's a very wonderful piece of the animals entering the ark. You see the ark in the back?
No, I don't.
Oh. Well,
I see. It's the small.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
other thing. Yeah.
Yep. And you see, here's the city where the people are all going to die. And here's the ark that he's been building. And then now you see Noah and his family putting the animals, the entry of the animals, and you see all the different ones. So what floods are coming? I'll tell you. You could say the end of the world. Well, we talked about that last week with Lamech. One was like, hey, it's the end of the world anyway. Drink, let's get high and have an orgy. And the other one was like, I'm going to prepare my sons and my grandsons, and they're going to be faithful. I guess that's our choice, isn't it? I see the storm of a lot of challenges with the society changing, and one of the biggest issues is obviously AI, automation, robotics, and I see the need to transfer the economy into what I call the post-labor condition. And the post-labor condition is where productivity and labor are separated. So in a capitalist system or in a Marxist understanding of economy, the labor and production are aligned, even with machines. Man has labor, but now with the machines being able to do so many cognitive type tasks and serve in these high level complex functions that typically man would do, and then you would have manual labor that is not just being done by machines, typically like engines and trains and airplanes that we build, but that the machines can actually build other machines. The machines can actually have physical bodies. That now one even robot won the marathon, half a marathon over in China. And so you have this rapidly moving fast, and everybody's worried about their jobs and what the jobs of the future are. And this is how I'm preparing my kid. I'm preparing my kid to think, to struggle,
Mm-hmm.
to not give up, to be entrepreneurial.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, to look at things in the sense of, hey, is there a business opportunity here? Is this something that I could provide value for, and then in return have some form of payment? But also, what's valuable, and what are some problems that people need to be solved? Where's the pain point still? And does this fit with my values? Because if it doesn't fit with your values, it's not worth it at all, is it?
Yes.
And then the other thing I'm teaching her is how to cook, how to plant, how to build furniture and use wood, how to use small electronics. so that she could survive in different conditions, and that so she doesn't feel incapable, but that she feels capable of learning if something that she doesn't know, just like I'm sure Noah's was not taught how to build the biggest ship that was ever built, like a cruise ship, when the only ships that were ever built were like small fishing boats, right? So there was no template for Noah except what God gave him. And so I'm teaching my daughter to work in a world and to prepare for a world where there is no template. There is no design for the world we're entering. It's what they're calling now the AI fog. And so usually people in finance and people in industry and people in banking and people in politics would prepare for something, right? Like they know like what is to look out for based on predictive analysis and based on past history of how things worked. But they don't know now because it's a fog. It's an AI fog because nobody knows whether the artificial general intelligence, meaning an AI that's so much smarter than humans and making decisions to where we don't even know it's making the decisions because we are incapable of understanding what it's doing. It could continue potentially take over and annihilate us. And there's all these different scenarios. But it's foggy. It's in who knows. But one thing is resilience. And I'll tell you, the more resilient ones are going to be the ones that can communicate. Like your daughter and you are a great communicator. Because people need other people that can communicate. And I'll tell you what, with the social media and these other things that are out there, and generally in Vienna, but also with the younger generation, they're afraid to communicate. They don't know how to communicate. They have serious problems with this. And we're not helping them enough. But also, this is an advantage for people who can communicate, because those are transferable skills to any type of situation in an uncertain world. Programmers thought that they were going to have jobs endlessly forever. Now they're 80% out of work in 2 years. It's been a wild ride.
What do you think of the programmers who are out of the job but are also fathers? Do you think they also have to relearn a lot of things? And then what do their kids see when the dads get fired from the jobs? And because I think it's really interesting, like even what you just mentioned, that or what you showed us with your daughter's castle, that's entrepreneurship already. You empowered her to build her own little dwelling place for herself, right? And that's exactly sort of like many parents would have said, okay, let's go buy one of these dollhouses, or let's go buy one of these products from Toys R Us or wherever. But you kind of taught her this entrepreneurial spirits through that already. And I kind of wonder, this is a scenario where the father knows what to do and directly teaches the children how to do it. And what's interesting with the AI fog that you mentioned is that probably a lot of fathers are also very clueless how to move forward with their careers and how to deal with AI in general. What are they doing? What are they educating their children about in a scenario like this? Could it be that they also kind of humble themselves and say, hey, I don't really know how to move forward. Let's take it one step at a time. Where I don't know, it's kind of interesting to think about like, the scenarios where the fathers are not as equipped in a rapidly changing world, and what their role is then.
It's interesting because it's interesting exactly what you say, because especially the fathers are typically the providers, and and that's what they feel, and that gives them purpose and meaning. And when they can't do that, when they can't provide for their household, they feel like not a man, and they feel, you know, and they feel that, you know, it breaks them down. And this is exactly, maybe by design, what's happening to weaken families and to weaken the society by those people who would want to enslave and control the masses and restrict people's freedoms. But at the same time, it's this winner take all market capitalism. And I feel for these guys. I actually was with one today, a guy who just lost his job last week, a father, and doesn't, you know, he's used to providing, being a provider, and now he doesn't know where his next job's going to come from. He was in IT world, and he's not entrepreneurial. And but you know what? I gave him a couple of ideas that he could do, because there's a lot of people that are going to have to upskill and change their skill sets and things like that. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. If you're alone, or if you're a dad that has to pay a lot of child support, you know, and you lose your job in addition to, and don't have a backup or don't have family support. And this is where we need to change society and start, one, just like what you're doing, Kawhi, empathizing, but also working together as community. And that's why I have two different business proposals on the table for the church that would create 12 jobs and fund church activities with at least a few $100,000 in profit after paying for the employees in the facilities. But it's God's will. And, you know, you can only push these things so far. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can't make people who are not entrepreneurial, who are IT people, for example, you can't change their personality overnight. You can't make them a startup entrepreneur. You can't make them even a freelancer, because they don't know how to run their own show. But most people can adapt and will adapt somehow. But it's just going to be a bummer because they adapt down, and then that's going to kill the economy. But I don't know. What do you think, man?
I suppose it's like it's interesting because now I think I'm connecting the dots with what you were saying, that Noah also had no idea, because this is the biggest boat that they've ever built, like that mankind has ever built at the time. And through his obedience, God tells him exactly how to build it, or God shows him maybe some kind of blueprints. I don't know what the details are, but because Noah is also facing a challenge that nobody has ever done, so he has no precedent. He had no reference boats to build upon, and this is in many ways, I guess, what you mentioned, that many fathers probably also don't really know how to deal with this sudden unemployment, or the rapid shift in the economy. And through obedience and not conforming to what the world tells them, or like not filtering all of the noise, all of the mockery from everyone else, and then teaching the children to sort of stay the course of God's will, and that's the positive outcome which comes out of that.
That's all. Yeah, I mean, you got to be obedient, even if it sounds crazy to the world, because obviously the world doesn't know what it's doing. But yet it does in a way, right? So that's exactly that. That was exactly a great lesson that came out tonight that I didn't even plan for, was the uncertainty, the times of uncertainty, and not having a template to deal with those times, and nobody having a template to deal with those times of uncertainty. Nobody had any clue that this was going to come, and therefore he did it. I saved over 100 people's lives preparing for a hurricane that nobody thought would happen. I was the manager of Budget Avis Truck Rental at age 22, and at age 24, I was going to University of Miami Business School. Here, let me just stop that, because this is a good story. So I was a manager at Budget Avis Truck Rental, the maintenance manager for the whole region of South Florida. And I got this promotion, at 24 years old, which is pretty huge, right? I mean, to be of a big company of managing over 4,000 trucks, 45 employees at 4 locations, and a network of 60 dealers. And there wasn't a hurricane on the west coast of Florida for 25 years. It was always hitting Miami, but never the Gulf of Mexico, which is now called the Gulf of America. And so they didn't plan for that. But I had a project management course in my business school, and I wanted to I said, well, even if it doesn't happen, we still should have a plan. And I had this feeling that it might happen this year. And so I planned for a hurricane to hit the West Coast, and they gave me the permission to do it. Because it was part of my business degree, and I planned. And the fact is, what we found out when Hurricane Charlie, Category 4, very strong hurricane, direct hit, nobody was prepared for it. Nobody except me and my team. And we were able to, the military wasn't prepared. It took them several days to even get any trucks or any items there. The power was out. There was no ice. It was in the middle of the summer, and their old people were dying because they couldn't get out of their homes, and they were burning to death with no water, no air conditioning, no electricity. And my team, because I was prepared, and part of that plan was to bring ice from Miami through a connection with Walmart in our rental trucks to the location, so we could come up there and bring our own tow trucks through our own providers from Miami that could potentially remove large debris, right? Because and guess what? The military, we helped the military. We moved debris so that they could get their ambulances to help some of those old people live, ice, supplies, generators, through a deal that I made before in the planning. And here's the big one. All the other rental truck companies, their trucks were destroyed, right? Because there's a certain way to park the trucks next to each other that prevents them from getting knocked over in a hurricane. And we implemented my plan exactly right when we knew the hurricane was coming, and no other truck company had done that. So it wasn't only good for saving people's lives, it was fantastic for our business because all of our competitors were stuck. And we had a bunch of trucks available that could then help people to survive and even live in the rental trucks while their homes were destroyed, and survive. And so this is my own story of being prepared and for the uncertain. And it was an extraordinary story, and I give it the glory to God, because I had no idea that the hurricane was coming. I just thought it's a good idea to prepare for that, because that's my job as the person responsible for both, not just Miami, where all the business is at, but also Fort Myers, our pilot or our remote location. And I prepared and I treated them with respect, and we were ready. And that's my own testimony about preparing. And when I think about preparing the kids for the next generation, last thing I'll share here is you said, well, how are you preparing your daughter and stuff like that? Scroll and zoom.
Does this truck company still exist?
Budget? Avis? Yeah, it's the biggest one. It's the third largest in the world.
No, the one that you worked there in Miami. Are they still there?
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest companies.
Uh-huh.
Ryder, they bought Ryder. Yeah, it was a big corporation. So I got a job there when I was as a mechanics helper when I was 22 years old, and within 2 years I was a regional manager. But truck maintenance wasn't for me.
Did you get any when you were preparing for the hurricane plan? Was there any mockery from the people or from the managing?
Oh yeah. Oh, everybody was laughing at me. Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
This is precisely your Noah's Ark story.
Well, yeah, but I was so good at, like, everybody liked me so much, and I followed on. I was mentored by this extraordinary man named Tom Harmon. He was an extraordinary manager. He ended up as a vice president, and that's how I got his job as the manager of Miami, and then the regional manager. He gave me that. And he was extraordinary. He's 24/7. Boom, boom, boom. He could handle any problem, deal with everything. So he was on top of it. And he laughed at me too. He's like, you know what? I had that job for 10 years, Josh, not even close to a hurricane. There's no hurricanes that come on the West Coast. He says, I tell you what, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And he's like, you know what? You need to do it for your college credits. He called me college boy, because they all called me college boy, because none of them went to college. They all were mechanics or something like that. And like a college boy. And he's like, hey, go ahead and do it, college boy. And they laughed at me, but guess what, man? I saved over 100 people's lives.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's God all the way. Because I'm a Christian. I was going to church at that time too. So God, if we're following God and following the commands of God, we're listening to God, and we're not thinking stuff is crazy, right? We're not thinking stuff is crazy because we're listening to God, and God's telling us stuff, but it doesn't sound crazy to us. It's just like, do you believe in this guy that rose from the dead? A lot of people think that's crazy. You believe that this guy rose from the dead, really? Yeah. Mm-hmm. They think we're nuts, but we know that Jesus rose from the dead on the third day and is now in heaven, and Pentecost is right around the corner. So how am I preparing my kids for the digital age? Not only is my daughter a budding carpenter, but we are building this. Have built this course, and this course is using AI. And it's a character-driven course where we built characters and a storyline so that kids could learn how to protect themselves online from deep fakes, from scams, from fake everything, and from getting ripped off. And each character has a tool set, a personality. We did voices. So me and my daughter built these characters. We designed these characters through her Kyoto anime style. We prompted the AI to help us to create these beautiful images around her characters. Each character has a certain skill, a certain tool. They're not violent, right? You see, these aren't weapons. These are helpful situations, right? So they use their tools. Like this one has a mirror, for example, and which was actually a real samurai weapon. And this is about transparency. So they learn these different skills, and then this is about going offline. So the power button. And so I did all of this with my daughter, developing the videos even that work. So we did all this with AI and several tools to make a consistent, coherent course, and then an email course that kids could use all around the world. And so she's learning to not, and the main thing is not to be a passive consumer of technology. You see all these kids around there just clicking buttons and pushing buttons and stuff like that, but actually to be an active creator and create the world anew And that's what Gandhi had taught. He said, be the change you want to see in the world. And Jesus taught this too. He said, go out, right? And shine your light. He said, you're salt. You're salt. And if the salt loses its savor, it's thrown out. So you have salt, you have light, and that light comes through you. And that light, and so this is like for the last activity that they have to do. They have to build and deploy a working agent. And this is 11-year-old can do this now. 11-year-old can build an agent in 10 to 15 minutes. A working agent. But who cares about the working agent? I'll tell you what we need to teach them, and I'm teaching them, and it's just like what we said about the architect. What does the architect do? He doesn't just build some house for some random idea or like, hey, I think this is cool, so I'll build it. Why not? He thinks about things like, is this going to solve a problem, right? Is this going to something have real world functionality? What is the form? Is the form and the function going to match within our constraints or our limitations and all these things? And so these are the great ways of that the entrepreneurs and the business people think, and the builders of the new world. And just like Noah had to think through all those constraints. And guys, I want a prayer for this course because we're getting ready to make our video, and in the next 2 weeks, submit it to Google and Coinbase, so we can maybe get some funding for that. And it would fund my nonprofit and also my daughter's cheerleading courses. So practical steps. Identify the coming flood in your culture. AI, porn, gender ideology, nihilism, all kinds of stuff. Build protection now, not when crisis hits. Don't wait for the crisis. Media filters. Accountability practice, community, building community, like what you guys are doing now. Like what we're doing now. There was a guy today I had lunch with, and he's not a Christian at all. And he's like, you're wasting your time at church. It doesn't help your business at all. He's my friend from Serbia, and he talks like that. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know. First of all, it's great for me to have friends that believe in the same thing as me. But secondly, we're a community. We're a network. We can help each other out. You need something, I can maybe help you. I need something, maybe you can help me. And we know that we all believe the same thing, and we support each other. And that's what we need more of at the VCC too, by the way. But this is what we can do as brothers. And so this is absolutely not a waste of time. I do have to leave very soon though, because I'm a bit late for a funeral. Teach them to build their own spiritual disciplines, prayer, scripture, worship, not just your discipline. Don't just have them copy you, but teach them to build their own spiritual disciplines, their own ways of doing things, their own activities with God and faithfulness and listening to Him. And then the discernment through real scenarios. We know that Attila had a great example of that. What would you do if in what situations and circumstances? So, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to Dads of the Bible, episode 8 with Noah's Ark. Please like and subscribe if you're watching from online. We'd love to have you here. Also, if you want to actually attend one of the live sessions, just get in touch with me at the email in the description. And remember, your job is not to control their future. Your job is to prepare them for it. Build the ark. Teach them to build theirs. And trust God to seal the door. Thank you very much, everybody. That's preparation. That's Shamar. That's fatherhood. Great. So me and my daughter, we built this baby bed because I'm teaching her, just like Noah did with his children. He taught them how to build stuff out of wood. And so we got this wood. Let's show them the bed. Let's take the mattress off. And what we did is we got extra wood and extra nails and extra stuff from the hardware store that was that was going to be thrown away or that they would sell just for a couple euros. And we made this baby bed, and it was, you see how it was perfect with the line because we wanted to build something where the baby could roll over to mama.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we built this. And then, so we built this together, and it's got all the joints on it, you know?
Oh, it's sick. Yes.
So really strong. It can hold up probably 100. It can probably hold 80 kilos. And it was made for less. We made it for less than 40 euros. Yeah,
Wow.
let's put it back on. And it's got the headboard, the protective headboard, with long screws and everything. And we used what we had. And so it's the same principle that I teach her. Thank you, Grace. Also, great job on the bed. It's the same principle I teach her with cooking, that she cooks and plants food, vegetables. And so we're doing this all around thing. Let me stop the recording. And then, and so